bit more.
We'll go through the list. Yeah, good question. Right, well, I'd venture that it's every human's and every robot's dream to one day wield a lightsaber in their hands. Kinect Star Wars tries to make that dream come true.
So, ready to storm the gates of hell?
This is a pretty big game for the Kinect, and there's lots to do. First up, the campaign. After a quick tutorial with your trainer and a chat with a Yoda impersonator,
Say the same for you. We once did, long ago.
you're thrust into the action. And the best part is a friend can jump in at any time to help you out in split screen.
Yes, you'll be infiltrating bases,
I agree.
slicing through robots,
Stay focused.
racing on speeder bikes, and jumping about the place with a lightsaber in hand. Overall, the campaign is quite varied, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some parts of it are really, really fun, and other parts are really, really frustrating and a bit rough. Darren, I noticed especially you struggled with the platforming side of things.
Affirmative, Pardew. No, the Kinect must be faulty. I'm doing everything right. I always do everything right. But to move your Jedi around, you'll need to step forward to dash ahead, lean right or left to sidestep, duck objects, and jump over gaps. The Kinect and I did not see eye to eye on many of these things. No, it's the game. The game is buggy. The game is faulty. Because, like, that was right, but it didn't see it, Mr. Kinect. Mr. Smarty.
Well, in fairness, Darren, the Kinect isn't really set up to recognise your mobility base plate. I found dashing forward to attack enemies worked fine, but the other situations that required my character to move always felt a bit clunky. You know, that stop-start nature of the action just means you can't really get a good rhythm going.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It particularly didn't recognise when I wanted to move left or right, and I'd just be going, and it would just, nothing would happen.
Moving a character around a virtual environment without a movement stick to control them is a challenge common to Kinect games and one which is yet to be fully overcome.
But in fairness, Darren, it is early days for the Kinect, and I think with each iteration of a new game, they are getting better at it. Everything's getting more responsive.
Oh yes, they're improving at about the same speed that glaciers flow.
Harsh, Darren. Well, I think where the action works best in this game is when you're just moving through a whole bunch of weak goons and carving them up.
And occasionally you'll come across enemies that'll require you to leap over them or sidestep or break through their defences. This is done by stepping to the left or right or jumping in front of the Kinect, but the tutorial doesn't really do a good job of teaching you how to fight these enemies, so you kind of have to work it out on your own.
You can also deflect lasers by waving your arm left and right, but you'll need to do this when you're getting overwhelmed. You don't have to worry too much because no one's a very good shot in the Star Wars universe.
On occasion, you'll come across a more intense duel with a really tough enemy.
Keep them off me. You can do this. Remember your training.
During these sections, you'll need to mimic where the enemy is attacking you with your arm to block, and after a few successful blocks, it's your turn to attack, and you just wail on the enemy. This all sounds really cool, but it's actually a bit broken and not much fun. And every now and then it throws you into this weird cross-saber bit where you have to match a pulsating ball of light on your lightsaber to stepping forward at the right time, and you can never quite get it, and eventually you just get it by accident and then move on.
I hated those dueling sections, Budge. They were so tedious and I never got them right. But I loved the speeder bike sections. They were my favourite. You put your arms out to dash forwards, and occasionally you'll need to brake to attack enemies or dodge incoming missiles. And I loved it when you went into that boost view. You know, it looked like it was straight out of the film.
I especially like those jungle sections. They just look so good. You could also do a selection of pod races. In these races, you can use tactics such as shields and ramming, but really it's about slowing down for the corners and getting to the top of the pack.
This is usually where you see rookies kissing the canyon. Gotta slow down, racers. This is the place to do it.
The campaign also features space battles, pew pew pew, but I found these to be a mixture of excitement and frustration. The aiming reticle is just so sensitive.
Yeah, and it never recognized when I wanted to throw a mine, and that hologram would just be there taunting me, going, oh, wait a second, I'm doing it! How much fun was that Rancor section?
Oh yeah, we had some fun with that, didn't we? Stomping around.
That's enough, Darren. And after we played this game for a while, working our way through, we suddenly were shocked to stumble across this. What's that about?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Barjo. It's a bit out of place to have a dancing minigame in the middle of Star Wars. There isn't a great selection of songs even, and most of the dance moves are repeated. And what's worse is all the lyrics have been replaced with Star Wars lyrics. It felt a bit tacky.
Yeah, I also thought Han Solo looked like a creepy marionette puppet, like he was on strings.
For a Kinect game, this is actually quite big and diverse. My biggest problem with the action is that it doesn't telegraph enough. That means that the game doesn't give you enough of an indicator, a warning, enough time to react to something coming towards you. So trying to force something out of the way or counter a move becomes more about luck than anything to do with skill.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Darren. I mean, a lot of this does feel quite rushed and a bit of a mess.
Some websites are reporting that this game was made by 10 different development teams, which would explain why it feels so messy. Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah, it's almost like they've tried to cram too many different elements in there, whereas if they tried to focus on just a few of them, it would have been a better game. But, you know, even with the problems, I did have a pretty good time. They obviously haven't taken the Star Wars universe too seriously, and, I had some fun, so I'm giving it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Well, I like this more than most other Kinect games simply because it's Star Wars, but that also means I think they should have done a better job because it's Star Wars, and it should always be taken seriously, so I'm giving it 5.5.